Hello guys, in this video I'll be walking us through the creation of a financial technology application, and more specifically a digital lending platform. So this video will happen to be the first of many to come, which I'll try my best to make it a short series that would see us move from taking on this particular idea or concept, that we're trying to create a lending platform, from that idea stage to a full-fledged application that will cover both the back end and the front end of that particular application. So now this particular application that we're taking on is a loan platform. I wrote a brief documentation here about it. So the main function of this particular app is to allow users apply for loans. All right, so the technologies that we'll be covering is React itself, Node.js, Express.js, and our database will be using MongoDB. So this particular application has a front end aspect as well as a back end, but given the fact that for the first few classes or the first few recordings that we have, we'll largely dwell on the front end part. So that's why in this particular video my requirement just covers the front end aspect of this application. So in the front end part of this application, we have components listed. We have a login screen that is going to request the password combination with the password and phone number combination. Then we also have the sign up screen, which will have the request the phone numbers, the full name, the passwords, date of birth, the specific state the user is located, and the email address. So we also have a dashboard that is going to show the various loan application that the user has had in the past. If the loan is currently running, if it's a default loan, like the user has failed to meet the deadline, or if it's a duly repaid loan, or a kind of loan whereby the application itself was rejected. So the fourth thing on the list is to have a loan application window. This will allow the user to apply for a new loan, and the withdrawals window will allow for withdrawals of fund that has been disbursed to that particular user. So join me on this journey to building this digital lending platform. So without wasting time, let's get started. So right here on this particular screen, this is a depiction of what we'll be trying to create in this particular video, like a layout that shows the navigation bar right here, the name of the application, the request loan, the profile, the transaction history, and we have a welcome, a greeting, a greeting span right there that just shows the user name as well as the balance of that particular user. We also have the request new loan, which is a button that will prompt us to that will prompt the loan application window, as well as the withdrawals fund button that will prompt the withdrawals window. So we also have the loan history right here beneath it, and so this is what we'll try to create in this particular video. And to get started, so open your terminal or your command prompt if you're using Windows. So navigate to your folder where you would like to, or your directory where you would like to have your application. So in my case, I'm creating this particular application inside of my desktop environment, and the tutorials folder right there. So we'll be, before we move on, we have to make sure you have Node installed. So to do that, you can check by calling your node and and to get the version of your node that you have installed. If you do not have Node installed, you can do so by visiting nodejs.org. all right, so and you download the appropriate one for your computer. All right, so as well, ensure that you have npm installed, npm version. You can check that, and to show you the version of that particular npm installed on your system as well. It comes you know, packaged with Node itself upon installation. All right, so let's go on to create our React application. We're calling npx. All right, create React app. All right, the name of this particular application is Lona. All right, so this particular installation process can take about 3 to 5 minutes on some computer, but what I'll do in this case, I'll pause the recording, and once it's done, we'll do well to continue from there. Alright, so I have React properly, my React application properly started. So to run this particular application, change your directory to the name of the application we just created. In this case is Lona, and you can run our npm start. Right, npm start, and of course you can also use yarn start, but in this particular series, localizing the scope to npm. All right, so npm start, and you run. All right, so this particular application that we have right here is the default app that comes with the React app that we just started. So we have to, you can close that. Okay, I'll be opening this in my Visual Code Studio, or Visual Studio Code rather. All right. Alright, so I have my app.js right here. We have the source folder, we have the public folder as well, we have the node modules right there. Alright, so inside of source folder, let's do well to declutter this application. At the moment, there are some things that we wouldn't be needing. So we can run this again, npm start, it works well as well. So this is what we have at the moment. So right inside of our source folder, inside our React project, let's remove the worker.js. We aren't using that at the moment. So there's some things that are beyond the scope of this video, but you will notice some errors like on your screen. Do not worry about that. We'll do well to correct them in a moment. Alright, so the logo.svg as well, we don't need that. So index.css, let's remove as well, we don't need that. And so have the test.js, we can remove that as well. So we have the app.css, and we can just empty app.css at the moment. It's an empty app. So let's edit our index.js to remove. So we're removing our service worker, the registration, the service worker, and the importation of service worker itself. It no longer exists. So index.css as well, it no longer exists. So we have this. Let's save that. All right. So inside of our app.js as well, let's remove the logo.svg importation there, and write everything right inside of the app. Okay, just return a p tag and let's say hello world. Right, so let's save this, and this is what we have right here. So we have this empty hello world application. All right, so this application that we have right here is what we will be morphing into something that allows for these visuals that we are seeing on the screen right here. So in order to do that, let me explain the file structure of this particular application to us. All right, so we have the source folder as well as the public folder. So this public folder essentially is just a a basic HTML file, which we should as well declutter and just remove this you can just remove them, and let's remove a lot of things. Alright, I'll remove that. Rename our application to Lona, which is the name of our application. Let's change our description. It's not part of like to a digital landing platform. Alright, okay, so let's save, and we still have something like that, like this. So it's essentially like a regular HTML file. Alright, however, on this line 13 right here that you can see, line 13, you can see that we have a div that has an ID of root that has nothing inside of it. Alright, so this particular div right here, or this empty div with ID root, is essentially what the React application is targeting. So if you go inside of our source folder, alright, we have the app.js and the index.js. This app.css is a regular, CSS file. Alright, so index.js serves as the entry point, okay, to our React application. Alright, or like another way to look at it is that it serves as the resultant file, okay, like a file which every other file is linked to, okay, directly or indirectly. Every other React file is linked to this particular index.js file. So this index.js file is the one that passes whatever it's been rendered by React to that div that we add in our index.html. Okay, so the index.js is the one that communicates it across to the index.html. All right, so what is happening here on line 1 is that we imported React. Okay, import React from React. Okay, this is a constant that needs to be done in every React file. Okay, every of your React file in any application that you're creating must have the import React statement. All right, so now import React DOM that's on line 2. What this essentially means is that it's the React DOM facilitates, okay, the management of DOMs created by React itself. Some of them are virtual DOMs. All right, it facilitates that creation of the document object model, similar to what the HTML has. All right, the HTML, the p tags, the h1, the anchor tags, etc., all of those things. So like then it might prompt someone to ask, okay, if you are saying that this DOM that is being created, all right, is not a regular HTML DOM, so what exactly is it? Okay, although this looks like a regular HTML, it's not exactly an HTML tag per se. Okay, this is called a JSX, which is peculiar to React. Okay, JSX. Okay, all right. So now back to our index.js file, we have the React DOM, and we are calling upon a render function that is part of the React DOM. We weren't the one that created that. It's part of the React library. All right, so let's remove this for a moment. Right, so okay, so you can still see what we're trying to do on line 5 is that we have a React DOM dot render for us this particular app. All right, where am I going to render that? That's what the question that's the question React is asking. All right, and the answer to that is by looking for the document all right, the entire DOM, that's the HTML file. Look for the elements that has the ID root, then render app, okay, app.js, which is a React folder. Just render that particular component, render it inside of the element that has the ID root. And if we go to our index.html right here, you can see that this div has an ID of root. Alright, if we were to change this root to, let's call it application now, our React is going to run into an error. Alright, you can see the error right there on the screen. It says that the target container is not a DOM element. So what this tells us is that whatever ID that we are referencing from our index.js file must be a corresponding ID to a particular node or element inside of our HTML file or the index.html file. Okay, so by renaming this to like root, okay, which is what index.html is looking for, we get our application up and running again. All right, so that is just like explain to us what the file structure is all about and how they speak or connect to one another. All right, so moving forward, based on what we have here at the moment, we have an header, okay, that contains information like the name of the application, the request loan links, profile, and all of these are on our screen. So let's do that, and let's create that inside of our application. But to do this, we'll be leveraging a particular tool or library called Bootstrap. Okay, so you can just go to getbootstrap.com, just click on get started, and right inside of our get started you see the quick start, the CSS link. So just grab the CSS link right there and get started. So just paste it inside of your header like that as well. So copy the JS part as well. So just copy and paste it before the closing tag of the body. So just save, all right, like so, and we still have your application running. It doesn't look any, there's really isn't any difference at the moment. All right, so for some persons that might be asking, what is Bootstrap all about? Bootstrap, Bootstrap is a free and open source CSS framework, okay, directed at responsive mobile first front-end web development. Basically what that means is that regardless of the screen size that your application is being displayed in, Bootstrap allows for rearrangement or restructuring of that application without losing the beauty, as well as providing you custom CSS library, custom CSS classes that you can easily use for the manipulation of your HTML without writing so much CSS yourself. All right, so we have Bootstrap right here. There's another thing I would like to use in this case, which is Bootswatch. Okay, so just head on to bootswatch.com. all right, Bootswatch is a theme built upon Bootstrap. All right, it's just it's similar, you can say it's the same as Bootstrap, except that there's just a bit of tweaks to the font type, to the default fonts, to the colors, etc. So in this case I prefer to use Flatly. So just right click on the particular, you can download as well and link it up in your file, but that isn't what we're doing at the moment. So you can just right click on the download button and it opens it on a new tab. So just click on open a new tab, and the link right here you can copy. You can see right inside of this particular CSS file that Bootstrap 4.5.0 is what is built upon, and that's essentially what Bootstrap gives to us here as well, 4.5.0. so like it's the same. Right, so let's go inside of our index.html. Okay, the particular link that points to the Bootstrap CSS file. Okay, just change it, all right, and pass the href to the link that we just copied from Bootswatch. Okay, so save that, and we have something like that. No changes at the moment. All right, so we can close other tabs and let's move on from there. All right, so our goal at the moment, right, so our goal at the moment is to create our navigation bar, all right, which is what we're trying to like do at the moment. Okay, so inside of our React file, React folder, let's create a new folder again inside. Let's call it layout. Okay, so right inside of layout, we are creating a new file called header.js. Header.js. Okay, so inside of our header.js, you can type the RFC, which RFC and the tab, you know, it's an extension that comes pre-installed with Visual Studio Code. So it's powered by Emit, which I believe, and you know, by pressing RFC, it allows you, it generates the boilerplate for you automatically. So instead of typing, you know, import React, all of these things, you know, it just comes pre-written like that. Okay, so now inside of our header.js, this is where we would like to have our navigation bar. All right, so now inside of this navigation bar, Bootstrap has a particular, okay, just click on get Bootstrap. All right, so right inside of get started, just click on the component. All right, Bootstrap has some, you know, like some navigation bar concept written earlier before now. So you can see the nav bar is just there by default. All right, of course we're going to edit it to suit our own particular need. You can just copy that. Okay, just click on the copy button right there, and right inside of the return statement here, okay, you can paste that in. However, at the moment you would notice like there are some errors with the code that we've just pasted. That is because the attribute for a regular HTML is slightly different from what JSX, you know, embraces. Even though it's of the same, the concept is the same, the naming of the attribute and are quite different. All right, so for instance, and in JSX you do not call class directly like this. You call class name as against class. So let's replace class with class name everywhere it is. So you click on replace all. All right, as well inside of JSX, every node or element has to be closed. There needs to be a closing tag, and that's a / at the end of everything right there. So let's save this. So if we were to save this now, then inside of our app.js, let's import header from our directory, which is layout, and we have header right there. So now let's return our header to JS. So let's save. So let's check our loan application. We have something like this already, which is similar to what Bootstrap showed us here. That is what we are getting in this particular situation. But we have to like style it to our own taste, edit it or customize it to what we need at the moment. So now let's go back. Right, I'll prefer my layouts to be this. Okay, yeah. Okay, layout header. Okay. Okay, why exactly is the error? Our layout, and we have header. Okay, all right, got it. So we're back on track. So inside of our header.js, let's basically what happened there is just I renamed my layout file. I had a capital letter, a block letter as the first letter right there. I prefer to have it as all small letters. All right, so now the name of our application is Loner, so let's change this to Loner. And as against the light background that the default one has, let's give it a green one. Background of success gives us that. So now for our home, let's change it to the first thing we want to like see there. Let's have, you know, request loan. So we have this link, this particular link. Let's have it as, looking at what we have here. Okay, we have request loan, the profile, the transaction. All right, so let's model it after that. So request loan, we have the profile and transaction. However, this is a drop down. That is not what we need at the moment, so let's do well to remove it from our application. So we are removing the drop down entirely. Then we double this profile and let's change this to transactions. All right, so we do not need this search button as well, this search. All right, so let's have it as, let's have this as a login button. All right, and let's copy this button again and paste it right there again, and let's have this as a sign up button. All right, so if we were to save this, we have something like this at the moment, something of this manner. All right, so let's customize it further to like measure up with what we had in this particular layout here. All right, so to do that properly, let's start from the button. This particular outline, let's give it an outline of, primary. So against primary. So if you're having issues with you know, the Bootstrap naming of Bootstrap class names and all, like I also drop a link in the description below for you to like you know, watch extensively like the various CSS classes available for use like in Bootstrap. All right, so we have that as well. Then our loan application, the loaner itself, the name, let's do well to add a bit of style to it. So let's add style. Okay, our inline style in GSX is a bit different, so let's give it a font weight. In CSS generally you would have written something like font weight, but that's not how it works here. So font weight, camel case, let's give it 700. Right, and let's give it a font size of 25 pixels. Okay, let's save, and yeah, we have something like this. All right, so let's add a bit of space in between this, and let's bring it a bit closer together, like it's widely separated at the moment. To do so, for our button here, let's add a margin left. Let's margin left of 3. I think that should work, or 2 should be okay. All right, and to create a space to bring them together, like we said earlier, let's give all of these elements inside of the nav, let's put it in a container. So create a div with a class name of container. Okay, it has a constraint to either sides of the screen, so like so. So let's save, and we have something like this. All right, so we are moving on. So we have our header right here, which I believe it's similar to what we have here. All right, so from what we can see on the layout right here, we also have the introduction, which is like a user, the introduction of the user profile that shows the name of the user, you know, and the balance and all. So, and underneath that we have the loan history. So let's break this down into various components. So we have the loan component, the loan history component, as well as the user profile, like the user component that shows the name of the user as well as the balance of that particular user. Okay, so to do so, let's move to let's create a new file. Let's call it profile or user. Let's call it user. Okay, user.js works. All right, so let's user.js and our boilerplate RFC. Okay, tab gives us that particular stuff that we have right here. So let's give it a class name. A class name of container. Let's give it a margin top. Okay, and let's create our div. This is going to contain the information that I want to see. So we have this h5 tag here. I believe it's big enough. Let's say welcome Uche Elliott. Alright, so h5 again. Let's have our balance, right? Balance, and let's have it as 10,000 naira. Okay, in this case we don't have an error symbol available, so naira symbol. All right, okay, we have an error symbol right there. Okay, so let's save, and our user.js, we have to import it inside of our app.js. All right, so like import user from our layout folder, layout/user. Okay, so we have to like return it and render it inside of our app. So let's return user as well. However, in React, every item that you're returning must all be, you know, collectively returned inside a container. So there must be a container that houses all components that you're returning. So React makes that easy for us by, we have this pseudo DOM that can be created to house everything. So so fragment is what it's about. So fragment, and we can return it all together. Alright, so we have something like this at the moment. Just to show you how this fragment works, if we were to remove fragment, for instance, and save, we'll run into an error that tells us that the adjacent JSX element must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. Alright, what that means is that there must be a particular tag that encloses, you know, multiple elements. If that is what you're trying to, even if it was a single element or a single component, it wouldn't have mattered. But given the fact that you're returning multiple components, it has to be, you know, wrapped in a single container or like in an enclosing tag. So that's the role of you know, fragment in this case. All right, so let's save, and we have this. So let's style our user.js up a bit. So to do so, let's increase the boldness of this. Let's just increase the font weight. All right, just wrap the bold tag right there. All right, and we'd like to space this out. So the flex, the display of flex allows that to happen more easily. So let's give it a class name of user details. User details works. All right, so let's save. So right inside of our app.css that we have here, at the moment our app.css is pretty much empty. So let's go inside of our app.css and create user details. Let's give it a display. Okay, not display inline, display flex. All right, so let's justify the content with space between. All right, so let's save that, and we have something like this. Okay, so this is what we have at the moment, and I believe it's close to what we have right here. All right, so inside of our user.js, where is it? To properly complete this, let's add an HR tag, which is just a line across. So create like a break so that we can properly structure our loan history below. All right, so like so. All right, so this is what we have at the moment. So let's create another layout. So this layout is going to contain the loan history of that particular user. So in this case, let's create loan history.js. all right, so right inside of loan history.js, you know how we do it. Our boilerplate RFC, it's a functional based component. All right, so let's have this class. Let's give it a class name of container. All right, so given a class name of container, we would like to have before we have the loan history, we want to create these two buttons right here, the request new loan and the withdraw funds. So let's create those two first. So in order to centralize them like we would, so you can give it create a div on its own. Let's give it a class name of let's give it text center. All right, so right inside of this div, let's create our buttons. So the first button that I would like to create, button. Okay, let's a button, the name would be request new loan, and we also have another button right here which would tell us withdraw funds. Okay, so let's save this, and this is our application. Okay, we haven't imported it, so let's go to our app.js and import. So import our loan history from our layout. All right, and the loan history. Okay, so let's add it. So loan history and save. So if we were to save that, so we have these two buttons at the moment. So let's style up these buttons. So let's return back to our loan history.js. Okay, and let's give these buttons nice classes. Okay, so class name of, let's say, BTN and BTN success. Turns out it's gonna be green, and this particular one as well, let's give it a class name of BTN and BTN. But to create a difference between the two, let's give it a secondary color. Alright, so let's save, and we have these two buttons right here, but you like space it up to create a space in between them. Once again, let's give this particular one a margin left of 2. Let's save, and yep, so we have it like this at the moment. Alright, so moving on, we have our loan history path, which we want to like create at the moment. Our loan history. So let's create a break tag right there, and let's have a loan history, right? Okay, so and underneath this we'll have a loan history being displayed to us. Alright, so in this case, let's create the first one. It's gonna be like a div. Let's give it a class name of card, card body, right? And let's give it a bit of shadow as well. So give it a shadow and a margin top there. Alright, so inside of our card we'd like to display two, based on what we have here. We have the request date, amount, and the status and interest on different sides of the card. So like in this case we'll also be leveraging our display of flex, just to like create the two sides of that particular card that we have right there. So let's create two of them, two sides, the first div, and we have another div again. So those are the two sides that we have. So the first side is going to contain the request date and the loan amount. So let's have request date here. Let's go with August 4. Okay, August 4, 2020. Let's give it a break tag here, as well as the amount in this case. Let's go with 15,000. Right, so let me get a currency symbol from header. Oh, okay, user. All right, okay, so like so. All right, so besides this, inside of the second side as well, we have the status. Okay, in this case, which is let's have this as running, and let's give it a break tag again, and we have our interest rate. Let's go at 10%. All right, so let's save this. Okay, so right, by saving this now, this is what we have at the moment. Okay, so let's style this up using the display of flex that we talked about. So to do so, let's give this particular div, let's wrap it inside a container as well. By container I don't mean a class of container now, I just mean a container like a general container. So let's give it a class name of let's give it a specific name. Let's call it loan history card. Okay, so we are going to like proceed into our app.css or app.css to effect that. Okay, app.css. okay, all right, so our loan history card now, let's give it a proper display of flex, and we're also justifying the content, and let's give it a space between. All right, so if you can see what we have here at the moment, like both of them has been moved to like different side of the different side of the card. All right, so back into our loan history.js, and let's style up our status, because based on what we have here, the status can either be running, default, paid, or rejected. All right, so for this we'll be leveraging our Bootstrap badges. Okay, this Bootstrap badges is what we'll be leveraging. So let's go with let's wrap this inside the span, our running inside the span. Okay, and right, span. So let's give it a class name, of badge, and let's give it badge warning. Okay, and like so. So let's save, and our application already looks like this. Right, so our application already looks like this at the moment. All right, so in order to like mimic the various history that the user has, because of course by the time we couple this with our back end, okay, this will be dynamically updated, not we wouldn't have to be the one at coding it ourselves, but just to like fulfill the layout plan at the moment. So let's copy this particular div that we have right here. Right, let's copy it. Okay, and let's paste it below one another. We can have like 3 of them. Okay, so let's change the date. We can give this one June 1. Let's give it July 1, and let's give this one February 10. All right, so we can work with let's say 35. Let's work with 10 here. So all right, let's change the badges now. So for this previous two, let's call both of them paid. Okay, both are paid. So the badges, let's have them change to success to get the green color. Of course, all of these things will be dynamic by the time we move on in the class. So all right, so at the moment we have something like this. So this is very much similar to what we said we're going to create at the beginning of the class. Right, so and we're there. So now, once the reason why we have the login and sign up here is so that both of them as well at the end of the day will be dynamic, such that when the user is logged in, we have something else here, maybe something like a profile that the user can click, and when the user is not logged in, this as well shows up in the navigation bar. All right, so this is where I'll be ending this video. So watch out for the next upload, and I'll do well to drop the links to every available tutorial that can help us. We talked about the Bootstrap styling earlier. Okay, so and if you haven't watched if you are still finding this a bit hard to understand, I would recommend you watch my previous video, like introduction to React.js. So the link was also right above there. I'll also be placed in the description below. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate, and I will see you in the next. Thank you.